So hello everyone, welcome to this another video of this series. I'm Abhishek Verma and you're watching Spring Basics with Spring Boot series. So in today's video, we are going to learn about auto wiring. We will see what are the three different types of auto wiring. First of all, we will see this with the help of a deck and then we will see this with the help of a code. Believe me, things are going to remain simple. Also, I know that at end of the video, you may ask me which is the best auto wiring which we should use in our code. But this answer also I have covered in the video itself. So the only thing which you need to do is you need to watch the full video. It's not very long. It's just a small video only. Also, if you wish, you can increase or decrease the speed of the video. Beside this, just download the code, practice it. Tell me if you are facing any difficulty in this. Also like the video, share it with your friends and comment something so that we can reach to a larger audience. So let's get started.
So now let's try to understand what is auto wiring here. So auto wiring is a process where Spring IOC container can inject the dependencies into classes without being defined in configuration class. So let's try to divide it into parts. Till now we have seen that we can just make the beans only by using stereotype annotations. But if you remember the issue which we faced in the last video, that even after creating the beans, they were not getting injected. Because you know that in order to inject the beans, we need to take help of the dependency injection. That can be done either by constructor-based or by the setter-based. Setter-based says I want to take help of the setter methods and the default constructor, and constructor-based says I want to take help of the parameterized constructor. And then we need to invoke those particular either setter methods or the parameterized constructors, and then we need to pass the dependency, and that was the process. So earlier we used to do it in the config class. Then in the last video we learned we can directly do it in the main demo class. But again guys, the point is that if we again and again need to set the dependency by invoking the setter method or by invoking the parameterized constructor, it still becomes difficult for us. Okay, and Spring is all about making the things simple for you so that we can focus on the main business logic and not on these extra configuration. So auto wiring is something which says I will auto wire automatically. Okay, so try to understand auto wiring. Wiring is the simple connection. So in your house also there is a lot of wiring. Now auto wiring is when it automatically understands that this thing needs to be connected with that other thing. So imagine that in your house, somehow if it is possible that you click on a particular button or a particular switch and the fan starts, and there is no wiring between the fan and the particular switch. You click on the switch and the bulb or the tube light gets started, and again there is no wiring between them. So that is auto wiring here. Yeah, and then there are three main types of auto wiring which we will try to understand step by step here. As per the requirement in my projects, I may go for one or another kind of auto wiring, but at the end of this particular playlist I will suggest you what is my favorite auto wiring here and which is the as per the best practices auto wiring. As of now, all the three types of auto wiring are almost similar. You can go for any one of them as per the requirement. So the first kind of auto wiring is constructor-based auto wiring. Now then this name comes from constructor-based dependency injection. If you remember, for constructor-based dependency injection, we require a parameterized constructor. So same way for constructor-based auto wiring, we need a parameterized constructor, and upon that we just need to say @autowired. So this means that now in your service class, if you remember, we already having this particular field. So we just need a parameterized constructor. So just in order to make the concept simple, I'm not using the owner ID here. Okay, so I will be using @autowired. Now you will say that okay, what will happen? Earlier also we were writing the parameterized constructor. The thing will happen is that earlier, if you remember, you need to say something like new of owner service, and within that you need to provide the owner repository bean. But this time, since you have mentioned @autowired, you don't even need to do that. Automatically what it will do is when this code will execute, it will identify if there exists a owner repository bean somewhere created by Spring. If it has been created, it will be automatically provided here. You don't need to do anything for this. And that's the magic here, guys. Okay. You don't need to pass it actually. It will be automatically auto-wired because of this annotation. And that's it. So that was as simple as it. Okay. Now, second one is setter-based auto-wiring. Here you see the difference. Again, we are having this field, but this time we are using auto-wired annotation on the setter method. So if instead of using it on the parameterized constructor, if you use on the setter method, then that one will be invoked. So that's the way. But this time you should be having a default constructor here. Okay, that's the only difference. So this is setter-based auto-wiring. And the last but not the least is very interesting here, guys. Okay, because for that you neither need the constructor nor you need a setter. Okay, now that is going to look something like this. You will say this is even much more magical, because you see neither I have mentioned any parameterized constructor here nor any setter method here. What I have done, I have mentioned @autowired directly on the field, and that's it. Because obviously you see, for this also you need to mention the field. Here also you need to mention the field. So field is going to remain one of the basic criteria. So why don't we put there itself? And it's that simple. So automatically bean will be auto-wired, as simple as that. Yeah. Now you will say, how is it possible? Is this last one a setter base or a constructor base? The point is, it's neither setter, it's neither constructor. Okay. Here we are making usage of the Java reflection property. So within Java, there is a property which we call as reflection API. Yeah. So maybe you must have heard about it, or maybe you haven't heard about it, but we are not going in detail of it. As of now, what the only thing required for us is that if you want to do something like this, then it will take help of the Java reflection. If you wish, you can read it explicitly outside these videos, more about Java reflection, how it works, but that technology is getting used in this particular thing. So these are the three types of auto wiring, guys. You can do constructor based by putting this annotation on constructor, or you can do by putting annotation on your setter method, or by putting this just on your field. As per the requirement, you can use the things. Because I know that most of you will ask me the question in the comments after this, that okay, you told us 3 auto wiring, which one we should use, which is the best practice. So try to understand. Imagine that this constructor is a car and this setter is something like a motorcycle and the property is like a cycle. Now if I tell you that you just need to do some kind of exercise, can you do it with car or motorcycle? The answer is no. In order to do some exercise, you will choose cycle. But if I say you that okay, you need to go around 20 kilometers away, and that you need to go there quickly also. So instead of cycle, you will choose either a motorcycle or a car. But if I tell you that okay, there are 5 people going to sit with you in that particular vehicle, so again you can't go for motorcycle, then you will choose a car for this. So as per the requirement, it may happen that in my demos after this, you may see only constructor based auto wiring everywhere. But in your project, they are using the property based auto wiring. So you don't need to worry, because the main concept is going to remain same. And the concept is, the moment we are using auto-wired, we don't need to inject, or we don't need to anywhere say that okay, this bean I want to put there. It will happen automatically. Now depending on your project, depending on your requirement, you can decide which one to use. One of the common and the basic principle is that if you say I want all the immutable dependencies and the mandatory dependency, then you go for constructor based auto wiring. Because in a single constructor, you can mention all the required dependencies, all the required fields which are mandatory. If you say no, there are some optional also, then you go for setter based. And if you say no, there are some mandatory, some optional, but what I want is I want to make my code look simpler. I don't want to have so many setter methods or constructors, so you can just write this also. Now, which is the best practice, that we will learn at the end after learning all the concepts. As of now, focus is to learn on the concept. Now let's try to see each one of them one by one with the help of a code. And at the end of the code, there will be only one auto wiring in our code, only one type of auto wiring. But by that time, you will be able to understand what are these three different types. So as always, now I'm in my IDE, and you see this is demo 5 copied from the previous one. Rules are simple. If you want to watch in details, you see the previous videos. I can't explain each and everything in this demo itself. Yeah. So pom.xml is going to remain same. There is no change. The repository interface is going to remain same, no change. Service interface going to remain same, no change. The repository IMPL. So even this is going to remain same, no change. At the rate repository, you remember we added in the last video. Yeah. As of now, this is how my service class looks like. At the rate service annotation is there, and currently I'm making usage of the setter-based dependency injection, which means first of all we will try to convert this to the setter-based auto wiring. Yeah. Then this is the one. Then going to config. So in config, you see we don't have anything much because beans are created automatically, scanned with the help of component scan. Yeah. In future, believe me, this class will also get removed. I guess maybe this is the last time we are using this class. Okay. In future, we are not going to have this class. So maybe you are going to miss this class, and for this you need to like the video if you are going to miss it. Yeah. And this is your demo. So in the demo, till now, if you remember, we used to write it like this. So we need to provide the owner repository and owner ID in this particular way. Now, since we are doing auto wiring, which means we don't need to invoke these setter methods manually anymore. That is not required now. Yeah. So if it is not required, let's remove it, guys. So let's remove this. Yeah. And currently, then there is no need of getting the owner repository bean also here, because why we were getting, so that we can provide in the setter method. Otherwise, bean is already created here. Okay. So let's remove this also from here. So this is how my code looks like as of now. Okay. So just a simple code. Let me say Control Shift F and save. Control Shift F, Control Shift O. So this looks like this. Yeah. A simple one. Now let me execute the code and let's see whether it works or not. Okay. Because if it is working, then I guess we don't need to do any auto wiring. So we see beans are created, but what you can see is when I try to invoke this find owner, at this time it says that I can't invoke with the help of a null. Why? Because you didn't invoke the set owner repository, because of which it was not able to inject the bean here. Yeah. Now one option to inject the bean is by invoking the setter method directly, which we were doing till now. But now I told you that instead of it, what we will do is, here I will just say at the rate, and then I will call it as autowired. So this way we are going to do, guys, at the rate autowired, as simple as that. Yeah. Now if that is the case, now let's try to execute. For owner ID, still I'm not doing anything. Okay, that we will see in some time. So this is the one. Now you see it is able to execute the code. So try to understand the magic which happened here. First of all, you went here, the beans were got created. But then when you invoked the find owner, try to understand how it came to know that this is the owner repository bean, because till now it was saying it is null. I didn't invoke this setter method. Still the owner repository bean was passed to this setter method. Okay. So some magic happened because of this particular at the rate autowired annotation. So that magic was that the moment I wrote it here and the class was loaded, at that time only it came to know that okay, here I need something owner repository. So in future, because of this autowired, so since you said at the rate service here, it got scanned. Because of this, it identified that okay, here you are saying at the rate autowired. So because of this, it understood that okay, in future I need a repository bean here. And the repository bean was already created by Spring. So it said okay, let me inject that here. Since there was only one bean of type owner repository, there was no confusion of the name, and since it was added here. You will say, what, Abhishek, if there are two beans of owner repository? So that answer we will cover in the next video. As of now, just try to understand AutoWire. Okay. So this is the magic, guys. Now you will say, Abhishek, then what about this owner ID? For this, what we can do? So you see that by default it is saying 0. Now why it is 0? try to understand. Again, just a very basic Java concept. So in Java, the moment you initiate any class, all these fields, something like this, they are having by default the null value. And owner ID, since it is an integer, so it will have a by default value as 0, because for integers it is 0. If I will give any boolean, it is going to be false. If I give any double, it may be something 0.0 or 0 accordingly. Yeah. So that way some default value is going to be there. So that's why 0 came automatically here. But what I want is that whenever I execute, 10 should be passed. Okay. But if 10 should be passed, can I make usage of autowired here? Try to understand. So is it possible to use @autowired here? Let's see. So now let me execute the code. So I will say here Java application. Yeah. So now on executing this code, this time it is not working. Beans are created, but things are not working. Why so? Because it says that there is some error in the bean by name of owner service IMP. That's the name of this bean. What's the error? It says set owner ID parameter 0. There is no bean of type int. So when it was trying to execute the code, first of all it encountered set owner repository, and it said okay, owner repository bean is there, let me inject it here. Then it came to owner ID. Then here it asked for the int, but there is no bean of type int. Okay, where is it? Do you have any class where you have mentioned int is the name of my class? Because on repository you said @repository, hence bean got created. How can you create a bean of int? So you can never create a bean of int. That's the reality. So neither you can make a bean of any primitive data type, nor you can make a bean of any string, nor you can make a bean of any kind of wrapper class like integer, double, or big decimal, or any other thing. So for the wrapper classes, strings, and the primitive data types, we can never make a bean. Since we can never make a bean, we should not be using autowired here. So then Abhishek, what to do? If we can't make a bean, so how to provide a default value here, which is not going to be 0? So rule is, for these kind of things, instead of autowiring, we say @value. So this is another annotation. Okay, that is @value. And within this, the rule says that here we have this string. Okay, so always the kind of value which you will pass here is going to be string only. Okay, irrespective whether it is an integer, double, float, or whatever, always you need to write it as a string, because it will accept as a string only. Okay, so automatically here you need to write this. Now don't worry that okay, here I have passed a string but here it is integer, because when the code will execute, automatically it will convert this string 10 to the integer 10. Okay, so if I execute the code here, let's say, so now you see it is working fine. So at the runtime, what it did, it converted it from the string to the int. Yeah, and here you don't have any other option, you need to give within these double inverted commas. You will say, Abhishek, what if I say like this 10a? Now what will happen? Let's see. So this time, if you will do something like this, it will give you an error, because here it is trying to convert it to a number. So it will say I am not able to convert 10a to a number. So that's an error. So don't try to play like this. Okay, so if the things are working, then it's good for us. So this way we have understood how to do a setter based injection. So automatically this is also working, this is also working, and you will say that okay, Abhishek, again hard coding, we want to give input on our own. Believe me, that will happen, but as of now this is an initial value, so let it be there. I will teach you, just trust on me. So we have done the setter based injection. Now let's convert it to the constructor based injection, guys. For this, what do we need? For a constructor based injection, the rule is we don't need setter methods. If they are available, then it's good. If they are not available, then also it is fine. But we obviously need this particular thing which we call as a parameterized constructor. So let's try to pass the things here. If you wish, you can just make a parameterized constructor like this, or if you wish, you can provide both the values. Both are fine, guys. Yeah. So now, since we have provided there, I don't need to use it here. Okay. So this is the way, guys. And let me just add it here. Yeah. So this is the one. So at the rate autowired I have provided here. Yeah. Now let's again execute and see the magic. So this time if I try to execute it, so here it gives me some error. Let's try to understand what is this error. So here when I'm executing this, it's able to create a repository bean, because for this it is still using the default constructor. So that was easy. But when it came here, this time it identified that I need to autowire a repository bean here. But repository bean was available. What is the issue? So let's try to understand. Here it says again there is no bean of type int. So for repository there was not an issue, but for int there is an issue. So how to resolve this kind of issue here? Let's try to see. One option is, can we just mention here @value? So is it possible to provide this 10 here? Okay, let's try to add here. The answer is that you can't put @value on this. So if you are doing a constructor based injection, then this is not possible. So if I can't provide there, then what to do? So in this case, the only option left is you need to provide here in the arguments just before that particular thing, because this is obvious also. Try to understand. Here I'm having only one argument, which is int. Imagine I have multiple arguments, like one is int, some is float, some is again int, then string, and this. So if I just mention on the top, it will get confused which value to assign where. So that's why just before the value or just before the data type, you need to provide @value. Let's again save it and see the magic, guys, this time. So again I execute. So as you can see here, this is still not working. Now why is it so? Because if you see, we have mentioned autowired here, we have mentioned @value here, but we have forgotten something: the way of writing the parameterized constructor. We still need to set the values. Like the moment you are writing a parameterized constructor, there are some rules of it. Okay, first of all, you need to initialize all the values. So here let's start initializing. So this is the way, guys. So we need to say here owner repository. So this is the one, and then we need to say here owner, and then something like this owner ID. So this is the one. So now we have provided the values also. Now let's again try to execute this. So you see, now this is working fine. So if you want to do a constructor based auto wiring, then this is the way. On the constructor you mention @autowired, and then if there is any value like this, then you need to mention just before the data type, whatever it is. Okay, so this is the one, guys. So this also got created. Now what left? So we have done the setter based auto wiring, constructor based auto wiring. Now let's go for the last but not the least, and that is the property based auto wiring. So for this, what we can do is we will remove it from here. We will just pass it on here on the field, and here also let's remove it from here and again pass it on the field. Simple. Yeah. And this time, do we need this parameterized constructor? So try to understand. If you will provide a parameterized constructor here, it will try to do a parameterized dependency injection, because default constructor is not available, but you don't having autowired here. So this time better not to write this. If you are writing parameterized constructor, better always to mention the annotations here. Okay, otherwise if you are mentioning here, then always try to go for your default constructor. Now also I'm just writing default constructor so that I can print this line. Otherwise, you know, Java gives me a default constructor. Okay, so that is not needed. So let me run again, and you see this is still working fine. So this is even more magical, because this time it is making usage of Java reflection. So today we have understood three different types of auto wiring. First of all, setter based auto wiring. Then we understood about constructor based auto wiring, and then we understood auto wiring with the help of property that will take help of the Java reflection internally. Yeah, and in case we also understood that if there is any primitive data type or string or wrapper class, then instead of auto wired we should be using @value. Why so? Because I cannot create a bean of type int or string or integer or something like this. Yeah, at the runtime automatically it will take the value. So this way we have understood how the things are working. Now one thing which you may tell me is that Abhishek, is it possible that here also we are invoking the find owner method of the owner service? So is it possible that we can do auto wiring here also? So believe me guys that first of all, we are not going to use something like this here. Okay. If required, you can do auto wiring here also. But for this, you need to make a bean of the demo. Okay. So auto wiring will work only if the demo bean is available. Yes, not if you are directly making a demo class and in that particular way. So that is a kind of a rule here, and believe me that you are not going to even use this particular thing. Okay, in future we are even going to make things much more easier. So as of now, just appreciate how simple our logic looks like, how the things are there. Try to understand all the things which we have learned today and wait for the next video. Till that time, share it with your friends, like the video and comment something so that we can reach to a larger audience. Thanks everyone.